back, everybody, to the SmallTown Collectibles YouTube channel. I am Jimmy Don Kerr. My guest today has a very, I would say, eclectic YouTube channel. You might see comic reviews, statue reviews, those kind of unboxings. You might see movie reviews. You may see just general CGC unboxings. I mean, there are a variety of things, and maybe most importantly, and probably my favorite thing on the channel, is what's that comic book? So everybody join me in welcoming to 10 Questions, Karate Kevin from Superpower Review.
What is up, dude? Thank you so much for that intro. What's that comic book? A lot of people seem to really be digging that show, so I'm very happy that a lot of people like that show. So, but thank you so much, man.
No, yeah, I appreciate you coming by, man, and hanging out for a bit, coming and hanging out on 10 Questions. I got a lot of good stuff here. Your interview, like I ask a lot of the same questions, right, most weeks, because I'm interested to hear the different points of view from different people in different parts of the country. So that's kind of what I do. But I've actually got some different questions for you this week. So just based on what I know about you. But the first question is always the same, is what or who got you into comics?
Yeah, so I mean, it's sort of like I'll try to keep it short, I guess. I don't know, but it's pretty much growing up with my brother. I have an older brother who we're 6 years apart, and of course, as kids growing up, we get into the animated shows and just nerding out all together. From Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to X-Men and Batman and the Spider-Man show. So of course, that kind of branches out into other things, which is toys. They had a line of toys. We used to get those toys for Christmas or for Easter or something, or birthdays, and then kind of trickled down into comic books. So my brother and I used to read Jim Lee's X-Men from the X-Men run in the 90s, and we used to read Maximum Carnage to death. So that's pretty much how I got into comic books and, fell in love with these characters that I love today.
Does your brother still collect?
He doesn't collect as heavily as I do. He does have a comic book collection, but he doesn't necessarily buy comics now.
Now, is that something really, like, even for you guys today, that you will even have conversations about? Like, I mean, obviously you've got the YouTube channel and you're kind of heavy into the community. Do you guys talk about that stuff? I mean, is that something you talk about, or is it kind of?
Yeah, totally. We do talk about it. He did get back into it like a few years ago when DC Rebirth got big, and now I'm trying to this day help him rid of that collection because he's like, man, these are junk, these are worthless. But no, he still has a lot of the comic books that we grew up reading together, the same exact copies, and so he has them hung up on his wall in his arcade. So I'm the comic book nerd, my brother is the video game geek.
Okay, cool. That's cool, man. All right, so question 2, and this is kind of a new question, but it's kind of come up, and I want to know how people collect. So are you a reader who collects, or are you just strictly a collector?
I would say I am a little bit of both, because all of the comic books that I do buy, I do read unless they're graded. So I do read all of my comic books, every single one. I don't care how expensive the key is, I'm reading it. If I'm spending that much money, I have to read it. So no, I think I'm a pretty well balanced in that realm. But I read every single comic book, again, unless it's graded. But I would say that I am a big I like keys. I mean, I'm a key collector. I mean, I do collect a lot of back issues and have some filler issues, but when it comes to my space, I don't have a huge space for comic books. I mean, I have 5 short boxes of comic books. So my comic book collection is relatively small, especially for how long I've been collecting, more or less. I think it's going to be 6 years now that I've collected heavily now. And so I save the space for the things that I truly love and the bigger books.
It's interesting because that's something, I've been kind of going through, and I got back in around Rebirth, right? Like that's when I actually got back into it. I've told the story on here. I was actually, my kids and my wife were shopping, and I said, well, there's a comic book store down here. I'm going to walk down here and check it out. And I walked in, and my eyes got real big, and I felt like I was 10 years old again. So,
Yeah.
and then I just kind of went back in, hardcore. And the way I started collecting to the way that I am collecting now has changed a whole lot. Even the way that I consume the books, because I am a big reader, right? Like I read books, I like comic books, I read a lot. Like I've even gone to reading digital, like on my computer here lately, really in the past few weeks. And it kind of came back to something you just said, is it's about space, because I am a reader who has like I'm sitting here, what I'm looking at right now, there's probably 12 short boxes sitting here. Mm-hmm. And underneath it, there's probably 3 long boxes. And those are just books that I read, that I bought to read. Have you found yourself, as far as the way that you consume comic books, as far as reading them, is it more you got to have the floppies or the trade, or do you do the digital?
So I do read digitally, especially if it's like a new comic book day book. Like if I read that, especially like if it's a tie-in or something, or just to see like, do I really want to spend the $4 on this floppy? You know what I mean? So I'll read it, and most of the time I'll say to myself like, yeah, I'm glad I read that online. It's not worth putting, going to the comic book shop, buying that floppy and taking up space. You know what I mean? I'm happy with that. I'll try to remember that book and go from there. You know what I mean? But so I do that. And so like, again, going back to space, if there's a comic book that I've bought, like for instance, I just come home from Florida a couple of weeks ago, and I bought a big stack of comic books. I already have 4 or 5 in a pile where this is the for sale pile. This book is forgettable. Don't really need it. And so I'm gonna sell it, try to make my money back if I can. If not, no big deal. Or I might give it away.
Right. So a lot of, too, and this is more kind of along the lines of question 3. And like when I started out, I swear to God, I was buying every cover of every book that I could get my hands on, right? Like I was just buying them all.
That was my brother. That was my brother with DC Rebirth, buying every single variant cover, every title, every single issue, and he's just flooded with DC Rebirth. Like, what am I going to do with all of this?
Well, I remember going into this, and like I said, and that was when Civil War II, that run came out. And so I told him, I said, okay, I want Civil War II, the main book at my LCS. I said, I want the main book, and I want all the tie-ins. Mm-hmm. So I come back the next week, and I got a stack of books like that, and I'm like, what the hell is this? They're like, we wanted all the tie-ins. And that's when I started figuring out, okay, you can't get everything, right? You can't have it all.
And that's when you realize that tie-ins are completely useless. It's like, what did this do to add to the story? Nothing. That's why, especially, here's an example, King in Black. A lot of the tie-ins were from the Venom issue. And so, I mean, I'm a huge Venom fan. And so I was, of course, reading the Donny Cates run. When King in Black or Absolute Carnage came out, I stopped reading Venom because those became tie-ins. And, like, they're not going to have any sense of the story. So, tie-ins, I learned really fast. Don't get trapped into tie-ins.
Me too. I see, literally, its own story. Like the main story is happening over here, and like 2 blocks away, this is going on, and it has nothing to do with what's going on 2 blocks away. You figure that out pretty quick, and you'll figure out like the variant covers. Like I almost always just now buy cover A's, right? So I will occasionally pick up a variant of a book if I really, really dig the cover.
Yeah, right.
But I almost always pick up the cover A. Now, how big is your pull list at your LCS? Or do you even have a pull list?
I don't have a pull list. I just pick as I go. So there's a story that I like. I know I'm going to pick it up. And so, so the reason why I don't have a pull list, it kind of sounds silly, I guess, but it's just like I don't want to feel like I'm obligated to go get that book now. You know what I mean? Like, so like, I can go buy that book. I'll go buy that book. So let's just go get it. I'm reading it right now, but my shop, the person who owns the shop knows I'm going to see him every week, and I'm going to pick up my Swamp Thing or my Venom book or, Detective Comics if once in a blue moon, you know what I mean?
Well, no, I've kind of come back to that too. Like I will buy, there's certain runs that I will buy. Like I have bought the entire Immortal Hulk run.
That's a good story though.
Yeah, it's a great story. The Al Ewing run, like there's classic runs. Cause I'm like you, I like to collect keys.
Hmm.
I collect keys, first appearances. That's why I do the video I do, because I was talking on DJ's channel the other night. Like, I just started making content based on what I actually do myself every day. Like looking for first appearances, looking for key books, things like that. And I just started making a video about it. But there are certain runs that I will pick up. Like right now, there's 3 really that I've picked up: Mortal Hulk, Venom, and because Venom started out so good and it was so hot, and then it just kind of went like this. And I don't know. I haven't read the last one yet, the one that just came out. But
Oh, so good.
is it good? Yeah.
So,
And
so good.
so that story kind of went up and down. And then
Wow.
Daredevil. I love the Daredevil run. The Zdarsky run. That's one of the most underrated books out there, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah, that's a run that I wish I had hopped on, and I never did, and I regret that.
Yeah. So as far as you don't have a pull list, that's interesting. You're the first person I've interviewed that doesn't actually have a pull list, but I kind of dig your thought process behind it. I don't want to feel obligated, because you show up at the comic book store, they're going to bring you a stack, and then well, I know you like Swamp Thing, so if there's 5 Swamp Thing covers, they're going to throw them in your box. And
I'm not about that. I mean, this is not like Jim Lee's X-Men #1 here. Like, I don't need all those covers. I just give me the coolest one, I think, in my opinion, and I'm good to go.
I love it. Yeah. No. All right. So question 4. And this is based off some of the content I've watched off your channel. Like, you'll have videos like flea market finds, or, struck gold at the flea market. So it made me want to ask you, like, what's your favorite place to hunt? Like, is it flea markets? Is it antique shops? Is it the back issue bins? Or is it all the above?
So I more or less, actually, I don't know how people are going to take this, but I don't touch dollar bins, because most of the stuff is like not stuff that I'm interested in, or really. I stay away from dollar bins. Like, I'll rummage through them for a little bit, and that's about it. My favorite place to really go to is my 2 LCSs that are close by to me. They're both called the Time Capsule. They're like 20 minutes away from each other. And the Time Capsule that is close by to my work is pretty much how I got started into collecting again. I never found out about the shop, and I was like, well, the shop exists. Like, ever since I walked through the door, I was doomed. So I really love that shop. The shop owner is really awesome there. And then, of course, I just uploaded a video of me hunting at the flea market. Not really hunting, but pretty much showing people, like, this is a flea market that's close by to me, which is the Random Flea Market. And that's one of my favorite places to go to as well. It's like I say in the video, it's like a little Comic-Con. It's packed with toys, video games, Magic cards, Pokemon cards, and of course my favorite, comics.
The flea market for me, it is still my favorite place to go, but it is probably more a nostalgic thing for me, because like I said, if you've heard me talk at all, I sat with my uncle and read comic books when he sold at the flea market, and he was selling comic books and trading cards and all those things. And I still love going there because it smells the same. The food is the same.
Yeah, I don't touch flea market food.
Well, I did. I used to. I don't now. But the food's the same.
Burgers are sketchy looking. They're kind of gray looking.
Yeah, they are, right? But there is something nostalgic about it. And then I noticed you had posted some videos, or I've watched some of your videos where you would have these finds and all that. And so I kind of, because there really is, it's almost like a nostalgic thing for me being at the flea market.
Yeah.
And so, I thought that would be interesting. All right, so question 5. Now, this is a new question, okay, because this is something for me that has really, it's been on my mind lately.
Yeah.
All right, so I do not own a ton of slab comic books, okay? I own probably 40. And all 40 of them, well, that's a lot. But like I see a lot of people, that seems like that's all they have are slabs. And I have 40, but I keep none of them here. They're all in safety deposit boxes, because they're all like true investment comics. So they're like big boy comics. They're investment comics. I do not keep them in this house. But I've been thinking, like, I've been digging through some back issues and, some back bins and, shopping online or kind of doing some auctions and different things and picking up some older keys.
Yep.
But I'm not sure what books I should slab. So, like, how do you decide what you're going to slab? if you do, or do you just strictly buy slabs?
Yeah, when I get a slabbed book, I already have a grade in mind, a price range of what I want to pay. I don't play the game of submitting a raw book and and getting it graded, because like I said, if that book were to come back and I unbox it and it's not the grade that I want, I'm going to be disappointed. And now I have a book that I have to get rid of. I got to sell it, use that money to buy another copy, do the whole process all over again. So yeah, I pretty much strictly stay with, I know what book I want, I know what grade I want, and I have a price range of what I'm going to pay for that book.
So talk to me a little bit about this, since you're just really buying slabs. Like, I kind of like the idea of finding this book, getting it cleaned up and pressed, and then seeing what I get. Like, I kind of like the idea of that.
I hate gambling.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm not really a big gambler.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where if I find a book, like I bought a couple books the other day that I know for a fact are slabbed or going for $120, and I paid cover price for them, like $3. I found them in a back issue bin. I went up, paid. They didn't look it up on eBay or anything. I just bought them and getting them slabbed. So, and they're in good shape. So I'll send them off, get them pressed clean, all that stuff, and then I'll probably end up with $50 in it, and I could sell it for 125 if I decide I want to sell it. So there's something about that I like. But since you don't really buy into that thought process, you're buying just the slabs. What grades do you look for generally? Like, are you looking for the 9.8, or does it depend on the age of the book?
So it depends on the age of the book, and it also depends what the price difference is between grades. So, like for instance, let me set this for an example. I have an Amazing Spider-Man number 252. It's a newsstand, 9.6. I think I paid $250 for it at the time. So I already knew that I wanted that book in a near mint condition grade. So the price difference between the 9.6 and the 9.8 was there was like a $650 difference. Okay, obviously, I love the book, but I'm not willing to pay $650 extra for it. I'm going to settle for the 9.6, because really, what's the huge difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8? So you play this a little bit of the settle game. You know what I mean? If we're talking maybe about a Bronze Age book, I'll do anything between like a 6.0 or a 7.0. But the one thing that I stick to, and this is something that I say frequently on my channel, is that pay for the grade that you can afford. And it also based off on how much you love this book, or what's the importance of this book to you.
I think that's good advice. And you're right, because as far as, like, I always just bought raw books, right? Because I was always reading them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would buy them to read, or even, like I said, going on the hunt. And that again comes back from growing up, and that's just what we did on weekends. Me and my uncle, and my dad, we would go out and pick and hunt for comic books. And so there was just something about that, and I still like it. So I just never really got books graded. Now, my uncle would occasionally get them graded if they were high dollar books. Like if he knew, okay, this is an old book, this is a high dollar book, if I get it graded, like AF-15s, he would get those graded if he found it every time. And we found, that's what I was telling somebody the other day, we found 4 of them. Over the years, we found 4 of those books in the eastern United States, hunting around. He had all of them graded. We found a Spider-Man number 1 in the bottom of a desk one time. It was crazy stuff. Just, back then you could find stuff like that. Now with the internet and, the popularity of it, it's hard to find those types of books. You're just not going to find them anymore.
As soon as somebody, especially like let's use the flea market for example, someone is looking for stuff to sell at their little hut or their space, and they find comic books. Oh well, let's see what these are worth. There's eBay, there's Comic Collector. There's so many apps that they can use. So it is kind of hard to stay ahead of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Question 6 is this. The comic book market right now seems to have exploded, right? And, it's do you think that can sustain itself? Do you think it can keep on going like that?
Oh man, it's been really, really tough to kind of try to predict what's going to happen with the comic book market. Um, so I've said a few things, and I've really kind of stuck with it. I know a lot of people think it's going to come crashing down. Um, I maybe thought about it for 5 seconds. I've never said anything on the channel like, yeah, what comes up comes crashing down, but I really don't think it's going to crash. I mean, as long as the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to be pumping out movies, TV shows, whatever the hell DC is doing at the moment. I don't think that it's going to crash. I do truly believe that there's a correction in the market because there has been many, many books that have been stagnant for years. You know what I mean? And now they're getting, they're reaching prices that they truly deserve to be at the moment. Do I agree that every X-Men back issue should be $20 or $100 at a 9.8? Absolutely not, even if they're not a key. But I do feel like that some of it is right. It should be happening. But I don't agree with all of the books going up in price. Now, I don't think that there's going to be a crash. Like I said, there's a correction, but I do believe that there's going to be a point in time, and again, I don't know when, but I think that books are going to come down a lot, but I think that the huge keys are going to retain their value, like an ASM 300. At a 9.8 reaching $6,000. I think that's very deserving. I'm biased, but that's my favorite book. It's a great, great issue. First appearance of Venom, fantastic art by Todd McFarlane. I really feel like a 9.8 deserves to fetch those prices. A Hulk 181 is just insane. You know what I mean? It's just on the rise all the time. I mean, I've never seen that book go down $1. That book has always kept going up ever since I started collecting. And like a Giant Size X-Men, I know a Giant Size X-Men #1 is through the roof right now. I think that's another book that's going to stay safe after this market kind of slows down a little bit.
I agree with what you're saying. Like, I think the books that are going to take the fall are the new books, the more modern books. As far as like, the book comes out, and by the time literally New Comic Book Day is over, they're on eBay for $50. And like but people are buying those things, man, like crazy. And I guess it's the FOMO, right? We talk a lot about that, the fear of missing out.
I think it's the FOMO, and I really believe that, especially a lot of people who are coming in to comic book collecting, the newbies, they just think that everything is worth money, you know what I mean? Or I remember when I was getting, I was new, and you brought up Civil War 2. I was thinking like, all right, if I start reading this, I should collect the whole thing. Never know. This could be worth money someday because I have the whole set. No, forget about it, Kevin. Like, I wish I could go back in time and knock myself in the head and be like, what do you think, dude? Stop it.
No, but I mean, there's a lot of truth, because I did the same thing, and I think you're right. And I think the combination of new people coming into the hobby, COVID, because nobody had jack to do, which was bringing in new people into the hobby.
Yeah, people were bored, and they're like, all right, what can I do to pass some time? All right, let's go on eBay. Oh, comic books? All right, cool. Or there's people like, who are coin collectors, or basketball card or Pokemon card collectors. They're trying to see, what else can I invest in? And a lot of people are starting to see that comic books are and can be worth money, especially much more worth than what they paid for. It's an investment, so that's what gets them on board.
It's 100% part of my portfolio. Like, my comic book collection is 100% a part of my investment portfolio. Like, it's so much so that it's tracked by my accountants and stockbrokers and the people like that. When I'm diversifying, where I want to put my money, comic books is part of that. Buying older keys and books that are graded and things like that. That is part of what I do as an investment strategy. Basketball cards. Sorry, my dog. My dog. What can I say? So basketball cards are a love for me, right? That's what I kind of started collecting. That's what my uncle was really into, and then the comic books kind of became a part of that as we were coming along. And so basketball cards still hold a place for me, but I am not willing to pay $6,000 for a box of basketball cards. I'm just not. And look, dude, when I started collecting back in the day, I have a bunch of Michael Jordan rookie cards, right, from that '86 Fleer set.
Wow.
They used to make me cut weeds, and they would pay me. My dad and my uncle would make me cut weeds, and they would pay me with ball cards. Well, a box of ball cards was $36. They would work me for 8 hours and give me a box of basketball cards. But I came out on that deal. I'm just saying, I came out pretty good on that deal. But now just the price difference between, it was for a box, it was $36.
Wow.
You get a case of Flawless, which is essentially two of those, briefcases. Mm-hmm. It's $6,000 depending on who's in that draft class. It's insane. Like I've never seen anything like it. And and you're seeing that too with comic books, where you've got these real, like I said, what you were just saying, these crazy prices. And I think the blue chip books, the big keys like Giant Size X-Men, Hulk 181, AF-15, those books will always hold their value and will appreciate just like a stock will.
Yes.
Just like a stock. All right. So question 7 is, why did Karate Kevin start a YouTube channel?
So why did Karate Kevin start a YouTube channel? So I work for a studio. That's my full-time job. I work for a TV studio. And this is around the time where my brother was getting back into collecting comics. And so we had that thing together. I was starting to go back to cons. And so after we went to a con, it was Rhode Island Comic Con one year, we just went live on my Facebook, and we would just talk about our day, what we got and such. And so my boss happened to watch that and said, "Hey, why don't you and brother start doing a show here at the studio?" And I was like, game, let's go. And so Superpower Review, a lot of people may not know this, but I started Superpower Review with my brother. It didn't last long, unfortunately. It lasted 5 episodes until my brother wanted to start shying away and do his own thing, which didn't last long either. So I was the comic book side of it and he was the video game side of it, and we would just kind of take turns about talking about news or stuff that we read or did, and just fill a half hour of talk. So after he left, I was really, really bummed out, and it took me maybe about 5 months. And so he took over the channel that we started and made it his own thing. And I was like, man, I spent a lot of time building the set. I spent a lot of time making the intro and these graphics. I'm going to start doing it on my own. And so it took a lot of confidence, actually. And so I recorded my first episode without my brother. And I was super, super anxious. I felt like I couldn't do it without him, to be honest. And I just kept going. I wasn't good at it, I will admit. If I watch my older videos, it's just super cringy. I think I'd rather hear nails on a chalkboard, to be honest. But I did it, man. I did it. I've come a long way. I mean, I think it's been 4 years now I've been on YouTube. And I just keep getting better and better. And that's pretty much where we're at right now.
That's awesome, man. So I want to talk, the next 2 questions are specifically about the channel and some of the work you've done there. So question 8 is about what's that comic book? That is I don't know. I like watching it, okay? And people are bringing out these bangers, they're these big books and showing them. And so, where did the idea for that show come from, and how has it changed, since you started it to what it is now?
It was really, really off the cuff. It was super off the cuff. So I'm friends with Steve, Burke Family 54 Comics, and Dave over at Mark Spector Comics. We were taking turns guest appearing on their channel. So, we were on Steve's channel, and then we were on Mark Spector's channel. And so they were like, "All right, Kevin, it's your turn for us to come on your channel. What are we doing?" And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I love to see random polls. When people do random polls on Instagram, you see them sifting through the box and they just pick one. I just think that's super freaking exciting. It's just like, ooh, where are they gonna get? Where are they gonna get?
Yeah.
It's just completely random. And so I was just like, hey, you know, let's just come on my channel. Let's hang for an hour and let's just randomly pull comic books out of our collection, and we'll talk, as much as we can about that book that you picked out. So they were like, okay, we're cool with that. It's your channel. We'll do whatever you want to do. So I made up the thumbnail. What's that comic book? And the people, the feedback on that, I was like, people just loved it. They were like, man, this is such a cool channel. You just see so many people collect differently, and you just never know what you're going to see. And that's the fun of it. You just don't know what you're going to see. You really cannot miss an episode, because you might see a dollar book that is just absolutely outrageous, and you're like, why did anybody ever publish this book? Or you might see a Amazing Fantasy 15. You just never know.
You never know. It's amazing.
Never know.
You're right, and that's really the fun of it, because you never know what you're going to see. Like, I know we have talked about me coming on there, and I haven't been able to just work it out yet to where I could.
We'll get you.
Because dance season was in full blast when we were talking, right? So, but like I was sitting there thinking, I was watching, okay, some people are pulling out these just like sick books. Well, I don't have any of my sick books here. I've got a bunch of short boxes over here, books that I've read. So I'm just going to bring some of them over here and pull some books out and say, okay, here's why I read this book,
Yeah.
But you're right. It's really, really interesting to watch and see how different people collect. Like it is never the same. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite. Well, has it changed much? Like, I know,
it really hasn't.
So really, it's the concept since you started to what it is now.
Dudes, it's just comic book nerds coming together, randomly pulling books and giving as much information about it. And another aspect I really love about it too is that every single book that person picks out has a story for it. I remember picking this book out here with my dad at so-and-so, or, Like, I remember picking this book out when I was 9 years old and thinking it was just the coolest thing. You just never know what they're going to say. So it's not just about how cool the book is, but it's also about the backstory and how this person obtained this book.
And that's probably the better part of it. Is this really the book's fine?
Yeah.
It's the story. And that's as much what comic book collecting is as anything, is the story behind how you got some of those books. Like I said, I tell that story about my uncle. We literally bought a school desk, and it had a bunch of comic books in it, and the bottom of it was a Spider-Man 1.
Wow.
There was a bunch of Westerns. That's the reason he walked away from it and then decided to go back and get it. And he went back to get it because he was like, well, it's got those Western comic books in it. I can do something with those. I don't even know why he wanted the school desk. He just wanted it. It was an old vintage school desk, and then pulled that book out of there. I mean, it was just crazy. Paid $50 for the desk and sold that book for like $3,000. It was stupid. Wow. Yeah. So, but no, I think that's part of the fun. But that is probably, I mean, like it's hard once you get into it and you start following a bunch of people. It's hard to watch everybody all the time, right? Mm-hmm. But there are certain shows that I watch, and that's one of them. Like, that's one of the shows I watch.
That's like one of the things that I get the most feedback on is that show. And I don't know what it is. I mean, I use my webcam here. I'm not even in the studio. And I'm just, another thing that I love about What's That Comic Book is how just relaxed, chillax it is. You know what I mean? It's just whatever. You know what I mean? If there's a flub on live YouTube, who cares? Whatever.
That's right.
It's just fun. And it's almost the same excitement as you would get when you're going through a short box or comic hunting. It's the same thing, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what you're going to see and what's going to get picked out.
No, I love it, man. I think it's genius, and it's one of my favorite. Like I said, there are certain shows that I have to watch. It's like must-watch TV for me, and that is one of them. That's one of the things that I watch. So well done on that. All right, so question 9 is this. You've had some success with, subs and your views are solid and things like that. And somebody like me who's been at it for a year, I'm getting ready to get close to 800 subs. Like, I can't even believe I'm that close, like that blows my mind. But for someone like you who's, you're what, 2,400 or something like that. Like, Are there any tips that you can give people like me or anybody that's watching this, like things that you did that you're like, man, this this worked for me, or man, do not do this. This was the dumbest thing I ever did.
Let me tell you, dude, I'm still trying to figure it out. For real, I'm trying to figure it out because there's so many videos where I'll upload and be like, I think people are going to find this amazing, and nothing happens with it. And then there's a time where I'll do a video, be like, yeah, I'll make it. It's probably not going to get many views, whatever. I'm doing it for myself. You know what I mean? And then it does pretty good. And I'm like, I don't understand it. I really don't know, dude. Be consistent. Make a appetizing thumbnail to get people to click on it, and just be you. I mean, I try to be myself, and I think that's one of the most important things is if people think you're a phony or you're not being yourself, they're not gonna get into you. So I mean, I'm just some nerd, some comic book nerd who was just at work recording videos, nerding about comic books. So that's pretty much it.
Well, I mean, no, but I think what you said there really is good advice, because it is consistency. It's having fun. Have fun with it. Like, I never want this to become, and I've said it again 1,000 times. Anybody that watches this regularly, I say the same stuff over and over. I'm sorry, I can't help it. But it's, I'm meeting new people and we're having these conversations. I only got so many stories. But, as far as the consistency of it and having fun, I never want it to be work. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is work. You got to edit the videos. You've got to, record. Like, I spend a lot of my Saturdays, recording videos and then making thumbnails and, getting things uploaded, doing descriptions. There is a lot of work to it, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a labor of love, I guess, because I love comic books. I have my entire life and I love it. And just what I told you earlier is I started just doing things. I think that people will find it informational because YouTube at its core is, DIY channel or a DIY, it's informational, and, how I find new comic books or first appearances or key issues, and then spec stuff that I talk about from time to time. That's kind of new. I think that's fun for me, right? So I try to do that on the channel, and hopefully people will watch it. 10 questions is hands down my favorite thing to do. Hands down.
It's easy, right?
I love it, man. It's so easy. It's just us getting to know each other, right? It's like two dudes hanging out at the bar, drinking a beer, getting to know each other, talking about nerd stuff. And I
wish
love
I had
it.
A beer.
Right? Me too. I have this water, but
I'm boring today.
Yeah. So, but no, and but I think you gave good advice there, because it really is. It's about being consistent, enjoying what you're doing, and then really having the to be able to grind it out.
Yeah.
I mean, you said you've been doing it for 4 years. I mean, you grind it out.
4 years. Yeah. And so, I remember when I first started, sounding like you, like, I don't want this to turn into work. And I kind of fell into that black hole really quick, actually, because, there was a time where I took a break from it and I was like, yeah, like I really need some time away. And, like I was kind of getting down because for years, I'll tell you, man, I started this YouTube channel and I'm like, no one's watching this. Like, is there anybody out there? Like, hello. And then like all of a sudden I find that there is a community, a YouTube comic community. And so, subscribers and views went up a little bit. I'm like, all right, so like there are people here. Like, I'm just thinking like no one watches comic book related content on YouTube. And so there was, I went really hard into it, and I gotta give a shout out to Steve from Brick Family 54 Comics, because he is not only a fantastic friend, but that dude just inspires me. That dude works hard on his channel, and for, no word of a lie, it really makes me move and bust my butt too, because I see how he works, and I just want to put out content too. There's so many times. I mean, I'm really blessed, dude. So like, I work for a TV studio, and my boss allows me to record my show at the TV studio.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't beat it.
You can't beat that. You really can't. And so like when the channel started getting a little bit bigger, and I needed that 4,000 watched hours to get monetization, I really killed myself. And I told myself I will never, ever put myself in that position ever again, because I was going too off the rails, like almost 5 videos a week. Like, no, Kevin, like you need to chill out now. And there's like, for instance, last week, a couple of weeks ago, I went to Florida. A lot of people were like, hey, you're going to do some comic hunting videos in Florida again, like you did last time. And like, I was just like, last time I had the energy for it. This year I don't, and I just want to enjoy this vacation. So I'm not doing it. So I stay true to myself. I've been a little more respectful to myself when it comes to YouTubing, because like I said, I was go, 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 go. And now it's like, yeah, I'll do a video today. You know what I mean?
No, and I think that's great advice too. Is don't burn yourself out, because like I
Yeah.
said, I can do that too. Like I'm a workaholic. Like I work constantly, and I have to. My family centers me, right? They are what centers me and keeps me from working all the time. Now this they don't mind so much, because they know I love it and I get a lot of joy from it. And then two, I don't really have that many friends. I have my best friend who I had since I was a little dude, and we're still best friends today. And we go to UK football games together. We have season tickets. We do all that stuff together. But outside of that, I don't really have that many friends. And the YouTube community, I've actually made a bunch of friends. People that I actually consider friends that I
Yeah.
have something in common with, from every race, creed, gender, whatever you can think of. All these different people, and we all got something in common, right? I mean, I'm a hillbilly from Eastern Kentucky, and to make friends with all these people is really special, and I think that's what's special about it.
It's true. I mean, when it comes to best friends, my brother and my wife, nobody beats them. But there are some people that I have met over the years in the community that I, consider really good friends, and I would literally almost do anything for these people. If these guys needed help, I'm there. You know what I mean? I have 2 friends over in the UK that I hang out with every Saturday. I love those dudes to death, and I just totally respect and love the relationship that we have. So it's about friendship on here too, because you become friends, and friends are willing to help, of course.
Absolutely, man. No, that's really probably my favorite part of the whole thing. All right, now
Mm-hmm.
question 10.
Ooh,
And
this went by fast.
Yeah, well, it's crazy, isn't it? I said it goes by so quick once you start talking. So question 10 is this. I want you to talk a little bit about your martial arts, and your training. And I'm interested to know, like, when did you start doing that? How big of a part of your life is it? And, just kind of talk in general about, martial arts.
So I have been training in martial arts for 15 years now. I am a 4th degree black belt in Shotokan karate. I haven't been teaching since the pandemic, unfortunately, but I still train. I train daily. So today I trained for 3 hours. That's what keeps me balanced. That keeps me anxiety free and just good about myself. You know what I mean? So that's what I do there. So that's everything to me is my martial arts.
So what is it about the martial arts that is centering for you? Like, kind of dig into that just a little bit, as far as like, how long have you been doing it all together? Like, how long? You said 15 years?
Almost 15 years. I think October will make 15 years. Yeah.
What got you started into it? Just something to do? You're just looking for something to do?
So I grew up with my dad watching Bruce Lee movies. And so I would watch that guy. I would watch Bruce Lee come on screen, kick some ass, and I would just be like, man, like I want to be as confident as that dude someday. I was heavily bullied in school, picked on in school for all sorts of reasons, because of my speech impediment or for the clothes that I wore. So it was about being confident, and if I really had to, I can protect myself. So in high school, there was a free club to anybody who was a student at that high school. And so I took my first class and I fell in love with it right away. I came home showing everybody what I learned that day, and I just got so addicted to it. And I just wanted to learn anything and everything possible. And so, you see people like Batman. I've always been a Batman fanatic. You know what I mean? Batman knows various styles of martial arts. You know what I mean? Like, if that day comes, which I hope it never comes, by the way, where I have to defend myself or protect my family, I want to be able to do that. So that's why, that's not the only reason why I train 3 hours a day, but it's for the health benefits. Like I said, a huge confident booster, and it just makes me feel amazing about myself.
So, do you compete at all? I mean, do
I
you
used
compete?
to. I
Yeah.
used to. I used to compete a lot, and then I just pretty much got tired of the politics in it, because for years I would go, I would train so hard to go in these competitions, and then I would compete against the judges' students. And of course, if you're doing that, guess who's going to win?
Right.
Not this guy. So, like, when I used to go to school, I was the only person in my class who would go compete. So I'm a lone wolf. I'm a Ronin, and so I'm just this one little guy facing off these, like I said, these people who are their teachers, and their teachers are the judges. I did really well lots of time. I mean, the amount of trophies and medals that are in the room is just absolutely insane. But I mean, I just got tired of it. I have had thoughts about going back into competition, but it's always that little reminder of the politics in the background. Like, is it worth it though? You know what I mean? Do I have to go to the competitions to prove to where I am, or has anything really changed about me? I'm still training hard. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I just find it. I wanted to ask that because I know several people that do martial arts, and it's all the same thing. They're they are addicted to it.
Hmm.
They want to train nonstop. They love it. Like there is a passion for it that I don't see in a lot of other things. And there's something about people who really get into martial arts that there's just something about it, man. I think it's the whole what they say is the whole centering aspect. It's healthy and right. It gives you confidence, and you could
It's
protect
mind,
yourself.
body, spirit, buddy. It's
Yeah,
mind, body, spirit. It really tends to all three of those things, like no other thing that I have experienced.
that's awesome. Like, and forgive this really ignorant question, but like, what's the highest degree that you can go in the belts?
Realistically, 10th, but after training 15 years and being teacherless I've been on my own for 5 years now. So I'm not affiliated with an association or a school, because after a while, I mean, I was training on my own, and I got to a certain rank where I felt like I didn't need anybody anymore. There's other stories, other things that happened. Pretty much my teacher didn't like that I started teaching, and pretty much kicked me out of the school. So, I went to a point where I didn't want to go to another school, and I felt like I was confident in myself that I didn't need anybody else. I could learn things on my own as long as I had other people to still train with.
Right. No, that makes sense, man. That's great. I mean, that's just a really interesting kind of sidebar from the comic books. I mean, we all have different things, that we do in our lives. Mine is, like I said, it's work. Honestly, I mean, I own a mortgage company. There's a certain satisfaction I get from helping people who can't normally buy homes. And then the comic books are really a sidebar for me, almost like an escape, as far as that's concerned. So,
Yeah. I
man,
mean, really though, like one of the greatest feelings is hitting something. There's no greater feeling of hitting something and just feeling that impact. So like, with the whole pandemic, I haven't been able to spar anybody in, a little over a year. And just last week, my friend just contacted me. One of my training buddies just contacted me. He's like, "Hey man, I'm vaccinated. Are you?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "You want to come by and spar?" My heart literally skipped a beat. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like that day, I was getting ready, getting my stuff together. I'm like, "I'm gonna hit somebody today."
that's awesome. And there is something about, and I don't know what it is, like as far as like a stress relief, like just hitting
Huge.
a punching bag. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like really work on a punching bag, and there's something about it that will release that stress. I don't know. It's very, I don't know. It's weird. I don't understand it, and I don't claim to.
And not only the feeling, like I said, like, oh man, I'm gonna hit somebody, but also like the crazy side, like I'm gonna get hit today.
Right. Somebody's gonna roll me up like a pretzel, people. Yes.
Yes.
Let's do this. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, brother, that's the 10 questions, man. I have had an absolute blast, brother. I appreciate you coming on here. I've wanted to get you on here for some time. What an interesting interview. Like that was so much fun, man. I appreciate you coming on.
I gotta tell you, when you messaged me saying, "Hey, you want to come on?" I was like, "Yes, it's my turn." I've been watching all these interviews. Now it's my turn. Yes.
Woohoo! Yeah, no, man. I do. I appreciate you coming on. I truly do. I'm a big fan of your channel.
Thank you.
And I love the work that you do. I just dig your whole vibe. I guess is the way I can say it. So. Again, guys, I'll put all Kevin's info down in the description below. Make sure you go over to his YouTube channel, Superpower Review. Sub him up if you're not subbed up already. Just go check out that. Go check out what comic is that. Just go check that out. That I'm telling you, it is an absolute hoot to watch. You'll love it. You will not go wrong. Great guy. Appreciate you coming on, man. And then of course,
you inviting me. Thank you.
Absolutely. And of course, guys, before we close, I'm always going to tell you, go over to Street Level Hero LA, use the code STC10. That'll get you 10% off your order. But most importantly, 25% of your overall order is donated to the American Cancer Society for cancer research. Nice. That is a very, very important cause to me. And I appreciate JPG and the folks over there at Street Level Hero LA teaming up with me on that. And it's went really, really well, like better than we expected. Like it was only going to be for a limited time, and we just keep going. So yeah, we keep raising money, man. So we appreciate everybody. Guys, Karate Kevin,
thank you.
Superpower Review. This has been 10 Questions.